Welcome back to the PSA World Tour. I'm Joe Barrington. Joining me, we've got Lee Drew. It's the eve here in Chicago of the PSA World Championships. It's been a long time coming, but I can't wait for the biggest event for the men's and women's of the year here. Looking at the women's, you've got Nour El Shebini, top of the tree, the #1 seed, defending champion of this World Championship. She's looking pretty good, and also her section is looking relatively comfortable up until she comes up against Southpaw Sobey, who's obviously got a great track record against Shebini.
Well, yeah, I mean, no World Championships is comfortable, is it? But when you're as good as Nour El Shebini, she leaves her best form for the World Championship. She's won it 4 times already. She will be a force to reckon with. She could easily win this championships again. It's, you know, she's a real danger.
Well, Amanda Sobey will try to make use of having that home soil advantage. And then we move slightly down into the second part of the top section, where you've got Sarah-Jane Perry, who's in the mix to possibly meet El Hammamy. Now they've had some battles already through this season, but there are also some other players floating around that could be quite dangerous, that could upset the apple cart early on as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive draw, isn't it? There's so many players coming through. And what I love about it is you've got the main protagonists who win titles. You've also got the other players that are now becoming contenders that can sort of nip away and knock people out. And I really do love that about the draw. So that's brilliant in itself. But when you look at El Hammamy and Sarah-Jane Perry, they have some real battles. It could be a real thriller between those two if they do meet.
And in the bottom half, the top section of the bottom half, we've got Camille Serme, the #3 seed for this event. I mean, she's had some really, really tough calls. She's won majors, but she's never won a World Championship. She's dying to get that title into her trophy cabinet. She could come up against Salma Hani, who's also on the move and playing her best squash of her career so far.
Yeah, I mean, Salma Hani, very dangerous, very skillful player. What you would say about Camille Serme, she comes with intensity, and so often she finds a way. So you wouldn't put it past her to actually add a World Championship to her record.
And in the bottom half there, you've got the #2 seed, Naron Gohar, winning the World Tour Finals for the first time for her. She's really been bubbling over and showing some very, very solid form, getting into the Elguna International Final, losing out to Shebini. So her consistency moving in to this event has been very solid, known as the Terminator. And she's possibly up against Joelle King if it goes on seeding. But again, I must reiterate that there's some of these younger players that are coming through inside the top 20 that are floating around those early rounds that could cause serious upsets in both halves.
Yeah, without doubt. And you could list a whole load of players. People only need to look at the draw, pick out their favourites. And there are dangerous players there coming through in the lower ranks. So that makes it very exciting. None of these top players will take it lightly or take it for granted that they're going to get to their seedings, that's for sure. What you would say, though, is the Terminator has looked absolutely lethal. She's so destructive on her way through when she's in good form, and it's going to be very hard to beat her at this event.
So come on then, let's pull it out of the bag. Who's going to win the Women's World title for the 2021 year?
Well, Nour El Shebini loves world titles. It's a lot easier to win your 5th than it is your 1st or your 2nd, I think. So I'm going to go Nour El Shebini.
Nour El Shebini for her 5th title at the age of 25. Well, in the men's, we've had some real drama already before we've even actually hit any squash balls. Mustafa Asal, the young raging bull, winning that World Tour Finals in emphatic form, beating Mohamed El Shabaghi in the final there. Could not organise his visa in time. It was a situation where he'd managed to just get it, but the flights weren't working in terms of his schedule for the tournament play, and even if the match was moved a little bit further back in the day, he wasn't prepared to be travelling 20 hours to then jump on court, which you can understand. But I mean, that is a big loss for the men's draw, big loss for this championship.
It's a massive blow. I mean, we saw what he's capable of at the recent World Tour Finals, and he would have been a contender. I think there's a few people out there that would probably be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief that he's not in there. But then also these players want to play against the very best players, and it's disappointing that he's not at this championship.
Well, Ali Farag is heading this World Championship as a #1 seed. In his personal life, his baby girl Farida was born here in Chicago just 2 days ago, barely 2 days ago. So, I mean, he is looking a little bit dark under the eyes, but he's had absolutely nothing to do with the physicality of the berth. So all the credit goes to his wife, Noor El Tayeb, that's for sure, but he can release himself. That's an amazing situation that's happened for him. He has won the World Championships before in Chicago nearly 2 years ago. His section is looking interesting though, because the Peruvian Puma's come back into the fold after a long time in injury. He has been in Florida training, not socialising, and he's on song to possibly meet Farag in the quarterfinals of that top section of the draw.
He certainly picks the best places to train, doesn't he? Old Diego Elias. He's an unknown quantity. When he's 100%, he thinks he's 100%. We don't know whether he's got the match play within him, but he is dangerous because he's so skillful with his movement. Ali Farag, he's going to be buzzing, isn't he? He's going to be bubbling away, and he's got another incentive to relax and perform at his very best here.
And in that top half of the section, in the bottom section of the top half, if that makes any sense to any of you, basically, there's a possible meeting between Tariq Momin, the defending world champion, and obviously Marwan El-Shorbagy, the Jackal, who's been playing a fantastically consistent game and at times the best squash that we've seen on the world scene. So, I mean, if that does go to seeding, what a quarter-final that would be.
Yeah, it'll be immense. There's a contrast in style between the two. They have absolute monster clashes, so can't wait for that one if it does happen.
And again, in the men's, there's always these guys that are so dangerous in the early rounds. The strength and depth is considerable, just like the women. But as we move down to the bottom half of the draw, the top section, Paul Cole, the number 4 seed, he's got a possibility of coming up against the baby-faced assassin. Unfortunately for me, I feel the baby-faced assassin is not had the training, not had the squash with this chronic heel issue that he has. And sadly for me, I don't think we'll see 100% fitness for the baby-faced assassin there. So it could be a slightly easier run for Paul Cole, possibly, but you never know.
We don't know because he's so skillful, isn't he, Gawad? But you have to say that he's going to have to dig so deep to get Cole off court because Paul Cole, he's improving all the time. He's so solid on a squash court, and just feel that it's going to be a bit too much for Gawad right now. Well,
the Beast of Alexandria, who's making it very, very obvious that he's looking to win this title, battle-scarred from the World Tour finals with a couple of stitches across his eye, looking a little bit more dishevelled as he moves through his amazing career. He's got a very, very tough section. Patrick Rooney, hugely dangerous player. There's a possibility of meeting in the second round, but also the Golden Tiger, who he's already had a few battles with already, is on song to meet the Beast. So, I mean, Mohamed El-Shorbagy thrives in those environments, but he has got the tougher run for me in the early stages.
Well, it's a sign of being a veteran, isn't it? You get those scars, you become battle-hardened, but he does find a way, and he sort of, he thrives off those circumstances.
Yes.
So,
yes, he does.
You know, I think it's going to be really good watching right the way through for Mohamed El-Shorbagy. So don't take your eyes off him.
No, absolutely. He won't take his eye off his skirt, off his stitches either. But right, let's get to the serious stage here. Who's going to win this men's World Championship for the 2021 season?
I'm going to go for the Beast of Alexandria, doing it the difficult way and really battling his way through. And he's certainly going to earn this title if he does win it.
Well, I'm very, very excited as we approach this Men's World Championships tomorrow. I'll be commentating alongside Lee Drew, and Aisling Blake will be joining us tomorrow. We'll be live at 11:30 a.m. local time in Chicago, so join us then.